The story of the UFO that crashed into Shag Harbour came and went as quickly as the tide, when nothing was found underwater. But for those who saw it, out of sight is not out of mind.
When I got the call from my grandfather in Shag Harbour, I remember him telling me some people didn't go to bed for days. They thought something might come and fall on their house or their equipment or the fishing boat. And I can remember thinking, well, I couldn't believe that nobody had spoken to all the witnesses and pulled the responses together. And I thought, well, I could do that.
In 1992, Chris Stiles dives deep to uncover the origin of the mysterious craft that left him paralyzed with fear as a child.
Nobody was even aware of Shag Harbour whatsoever before I began re-investigating in 1992.
Chris Stiles went out to try and track down exactly what happened.
He really ferreted out the information and talked to the locals and put together a case far better than anything that the government ever did. They got more government documents relating to Shag Harbour than I believe any other downed UFO incident that we have on record.
"4,000 kilometers south along the coast, decades later, Houston musician Andrew Pena wasn't ready for what he was about to see. In 2014, Houston, Texas was struck with weeks of severe thunder and lightning storms.
It just looked like dark, dense, middle of nowhere ocean. I was on my way to the rehearsal space and I was messing with my phone. I was seeing some crazy stuff happening up in the sky. What is that? Adrenaline was pumping a little bit. Such an eerie kind of feeling. I knew immediately I needed to get off of the highway. I knew right then and there, like I had something just extraordinary.
They had close, personal, and horrifying encounters with unidentified flying objects. Enormous V-shaped craft hovering over homes.
I can't figure it out to this day.
Bright orbs illuminating stormy skies, and suspicious lights disappearing underwater.
The fear had an effect, and it stayed with me.
These terrifying experiences leave behind little tangible evidence and a lot of emotional eyewitnesses searching for answers.
I was just like, there's no way I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing.
A lot of times on an individual basis, what people have seen is so shocking, it's so literally out of this world for them that they actually find a way to forget that they've ever seen it.
For musician Andrew Pena, his UFO event became impossible to forget the moment he grabbed his phone and hit record.
When I reviewed the video, I'm thinking that I only saw the bead of light, because in the video it like kind of breaks out into a bunch of little lights, and that's the part of me that just goes like, whoa, something had to have been generating that much power in order for you to see it the way you saw it in its clarity. So that was just nuts to me.
What Andrew saw and recorded that night was soon validated by dozens of eyewitnesses around Houston, all reporting the same thing, a cluster of bright lights in the sky.
It was at that moment that I was like, this is so much bigger than I thought it would ever be.
Andrew Pena's video of the mysterious lights over Houston garnered more than 800,000 views online.
That night, it was already on the news.
The encounters Chris and Francis experienced also involved hundreds of people, but were kept out of the public eye for as long as possible.
We still don't know what it was. We still don't know who knows what it was.
The question is, why are some of the biggest, most important UFO sightings being kept a secret?
I think the main reason the government didn't want the public to know is because they didn't want the public to freak out.
Unfortunately, historically, mass sightings have also been equated with mass hysteria. People panicked, that panic spread, and whole cities became delusional.
The Cold War era ushered in a sense of insecurity and resounding fear of what was going on overhead.
Some people still insist that the flying saucer is a secret weapon of Russia. But would a country dare test fly highly secret aircraft over a foreign territory?
It was at this time, I think, that people really started to turn their attention to the skies. What is that flying over? Is that nuclear warfare? Is that an alien? People started paying attention to the skies in a way that they hadn't before.
Are flying saucers interplanetary, or are they a result of mass hysteria?
And one of the explanations that really took hold in the popular imagination was the extraterrestrial. We start hearing stories of people allegedly making contact with alien beings, and those sinister aliens hiding amongst us, disguised as humans.
Governments responded with secrecy to protect the public from hysteria over whatever the invasion may be. Some secrets are still being kept.
You see this reaction by governments frequently to defuse or even just push down the situation and just make sure it doesn't go anywhere.
The mass sightings Francis, Andrew, and Chris experienced were explained to the public as military operations and weather phenomena.
Where there's a will, there's a way, with the government discrediting mass eyewitness accounts, weather balloons, weather phenomena, conventional aircraft. They will come up with something to try to describe it.
And I hear explanations like this. It's impossible not to want to roll my eyes. It's just a way to kind of inoculate the public against something. And so you want to get an explanation out there. And I mean, it's easy peasy to do this. It's called an operation, and it happens all the time.
One of the most well-known alleged operations took place in Roswell, New Mexico.
The story of Roswell is that back in 1947, something crashed. A local resident had found pieces of some sort of unusual material strewn about a field some distance away from his ranch. A news conference was quickly held to show that these pieces were really nothing other than some sort of balloon and radar targets. Nothing to worry about, folks. And yet, the pieces were very much different from what had been seen and felt by the witness himself.
The UFO encounter Chris Stiles and many others witnessed 2 decades later in Nova Scotia bears an eerie resemblance.
Shag Harbour has been described as Canada's Roswell. What's interesting is that it actually has more supportive evidence than Roswell. We have documentation from the RCMP and the Canadian Forces that suggests something really did crash into the ocean.
There's a cover-up as a result of it. That is the case with Roswell, that is the case with Shag Harbour. Something important happened at Shag Harbour, without a doubt.
Chris Stiles is determined to find out what that something was, and he may finally have a break in the case.
I talked to the divers of the Fleet Diving Unit. They were like, well, you know about Shelburne, don't you? You know, that's the real story. Shelburne County has a curious history before that time of anomalous events. Everything from sightings of sea monsters to sightings of Bigfoot.
While a very public investigation was taking place at Shag Harbour, up the coast at military base Shelburne, a secret operation yields a shocking discovery.
What the divers told me was when they went down, they found a second UFO in the seabed and that it was rendering assistance to the other one. And the 2 divers that spoke of this actually claimed that they saw beings in the water doing this. And I'm like, whoa, 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 guys. And suddenly, I was kind of overwhelmed. One of the underwater naval photographers, according to the other officer, shot at least 400 feet of film.
As soon as the footage was brought to the surface, divers were instructed to hand it over.
And of course, none of them ever hear back about what they filmed or what they saw.
What happened to the film shot by those divers? And are the men in black behind its disappearance?